Hello for the 14th week in Ordinary Time, the 4th of July weekend, just using the Gospel, Luke 10, 1 to 20. And I would like to use 6 words from the Gospel and translate them. The 6 words are harvest, abundant, laborers, few, lambs, and wolves. Now, this translation isn't something like from German to English, like when somebody sneezes, you say Gesundheit. In the translation, we have loose, God bless you. But Gesundheit really means health. I wish you good health because you just almost died when you sneezed. But my translation of these 6 words are English to English. And I'll try to explain the word in the gospel and then sort of what it means maybe to us today. Well, the first is harvest. As far as sending people in the harvest. Anywho, harvest is really the work to be done that Jesus set out to do. And that work, his favorite idea, is called the kingdom of God. Sometimes we call it the church. Sometimes we call the harvest the Christianity, or some even limit it so small to Roman Catholicism. But probably the work to be done, the harvest, is best expressed by Jesus himself when he talked about the kingdom of God. Abundant. In that kingdom of God, or into that harvest, there is abundancy. And that means all people at all times in the world. Today there's 7.1 billion people. That's the harvest for today's world. But the harvest and the abundance in the harvest are all people of all times, past, present, and future. Not just the 7 billion people today to participate in the kingdom of God. Laborers, workers, laborers, they are the people who do the work. Well, for the most part, and the biggest number, is the laity. Baptized Christians, baptized Catholics, and some people even talk about anonymous Christians. Way back in the 50s, Father Karl Rahner, who spoke and taught in Innsbruck, Austria, the anonymous Christian. People who do good things and do what Jesus preached about, but they're not called Christians, but they're just good people. They're anonymous Christians, and they are laborers for this kingdom of God. The clergy. Well, the clergy are those special people who are supposed to be full-time in their work in dealing with the kingdom of God. That's why they're called to be a priest or a deacon. And the clergy, it comes out pretty much in the next. They're few. Few are, it's hard to say, or I don't like to say it, but there's a priest shortage. In 1970 to 2012, there was a decline of 5,500 priests in the world. And this is when the world keeps on getting bigger and more populated, where the priesthood in the world is getting smaller and smaller. It's shrinking. And so there is a shortage of priests. In fact, as far as in the world, there are 49,153 parishes who have no resident priest. They're shrinking. They're few. There's a shortage. So there are many laborers, primarily laity, and there are fewer and fewer priests. And Jesus talked about pray because you need more. sidelined. What can we do about this? Well, let me give you my opinion. One, give more authority and responsibility to all the lay people, because they can project the message of Jesus Christ as well as I can. So give more authority and responsibility. Two, well, let the Roman Catholic priests have the option of marrying or not marrying. My opinion. Three, let women become priests, like in the Episcopalian religion in our country. My opinion. Four, ordain more deacons. You know, the priesthood of Jesus Christ with the clergy is deacon, priest, and bishop. Ordain more. And then finally, ordain women to be deacons. Once again, and finally, my opinion. I do not think the real answer to this shortage and the few is just pray to the Lord that the Lord sends us more young men to be priests. That's not only simplistic. I don't think it's the answer to our problem. Finally, there are lambs and wolves. The lambs are really you and I. The lambs are the clergy and the laity. And all the baptized who know the message of Jesus and try to preach the message of Jesus, they go out into the world, and the world doesn't necessarily want to receive it so readily. So we are like lambs sent out into the world, the wolves. Wolves are all the people who do not image and the likeness of God. The people do not accept this, don't believe this, fight against this. That is the wolves in translation that Jesus Christ is really talking about. Or as St. Paul says in different words, for a different translation, for the acceptance, that's the Spirit, the acceptance of the Spirit or the message of Jesus Christ, and the just living according to worldly standards is the flesh. So it's the spirit and the flesh. Isn't that interesting when you translate some of these English words in and spell it out in other English words? It might help us to understand it and to simplify it. Finally, when I talk about that anonymous Christian, where I studied in Innsbruck, Austria, 61 to 65, there were two brother Jesuits, great professors at the university who taught theology and patrology of the church fathers. Karl Rahner and his brother Hugo Rahner. And they both taught in German. And Karl was the more well-known, he is considered one of the best, if not the best, theologian in the last 100 years. Pretty good. His brother Hugo, who taught the church fathers, was not far behind. But at any rate, one year when I was there, Time magazine came and interviewed both of them, and Karl Rahner's picture wound up in Time magazine. But in the interview with his brother Hugo, he was getting elderly, and they say, Father Hugo, Father Rahner, what would be one thing you would like to do before you die? And he says, I'll tell you what, one thing I'd like to do. I would like to take my brother's writings in theology, Karl Rahner, and translate them into German. Well, Karl Rahner wrote in complicated, long sentences that was very difficult to understand. And Hugo, with a laugh, he was a great comedian, he says, I'd love to translate my brother's writings from German into German so that everybody could understand. These 6 words, I think we need to understand better. If we understand them better, I think we can be more messengers, bearers of the message of Jesus Christ and helping our building the kingdom of God. Have a good day.